Hi everyone, this is Alex from Near. With me today are JD and Arpit from Matic, and we will talk a lot today about layer 2, plasmas, sidechains, all things. Would you like to introduce yourself, guys? And
My name is Jaynti Kanani. I also go by JD. I'm a founder and CEO at Matic, and I also lead the research team at Matic. Yeah.
So my name is Arpit Agarwal and I work as a blockchain engineer at Matic. So things like Plasma and everything else.
cool. So do you guys like to introduce like the overall design of the system?
Yeah.
And we'll start from there.
So first of all, we are layer 2, and we rely on Ethereum very heavily for the security. So let's example this is Ethereum chain, okay, and as a user mostly deposit their tokens in a contract. So it's basically we call it a root contract, root chain contract basically. Okay. And when users basically deposit their contracts on the root chain contract, it will appear like on the sidechain. Sidechain is our sidechain is basically EVM compatible, and each ERC20 and ERC721 contracts are basically Plasma secured contracts. So I will explain you like a little bit like one after this one. So this is like other chain which is EVM compatible. Okay. And whenever you deposit your tokens here, it will the validators basically create your deposit here. So basically, let's say if you deposit 10 DAI here, it will appear like 10 DAI here in your accounts. Most of the Plasma solutions like Plasma Cash, Tesla, or like kind of UTXO or the range basis, we use accounts, accounts to have like for our ERC20 and mostly tokens and NFTs. Apart from that, this is just overview with two chains. We also have a validator chain here. It's called we just call it Handal. So Handal basically is we use Cosmos SDK pretty heavily, and it uses a Tendermint consensus. So whenever you let's say deposit 10 DAI here, they will actually sign on the deposit and then make a deposit to here, and it just mean 10 DAI for that user.
Yep.
Right. And for this layer, this is basically the validators layers, and they choose who become the block producers for certain amount of time, right? So span. So let's say we have like 100 validators here, and it choose like let's say 32 or something like that numbers, and it will become like for 10 minutes they will produce the blocks for the sidechain.
And they take turns producing blocks?
Yes. So basically, this is like simple. We just use the get EVM here as a calling, and we have like customized consensus instead of click, right? And they just take turns and to produce a block here. It's a simple view, right? Kind of in terms of the it's a round robin, you could say. And the person, the probability of get chosen by the block producers is by like how much stake do you have at this layer. So let's say if you want to become validator, you put your stake as a Matic token here. It's called like we just call it like stake manager.
Okay, it's a separate contract.
Yeah, it's a separate contract. Just to make things simple here, because this is like bigger contracts because we have like Plasma exit contracts, the proof, etc. So we have like different contracts which just takes the deposit and you become the validator after some point of time. Yeah. And yeah, I mean when you become a validator, you can actually start depositing and validating the chain. And after let's say 10 minutes or so, all the validators, not just chosen ones, all the validators verify these blocks and creates the hash of the blocks. Let's say this is like a 4 block. We just create a multiple root of the block of the 4 blocks and just push on the Ethereum chain as a checkpoint.
Yeah. And that happens once every 10 minutes.
Yes, it's like we actually started with 5 minutes, but 5 minutes were pretty low because sometimes it takes too much time for confirmation of the checkpoint. So we are actually experimenting if we can increase it. But still have some trade-offs because for those that between the checkpoints, you make sure you have like check plasma security because I'll explain in bit later. But yeah, I mean, the checkpoints goes to here, and let's say if you want to exit with your tokens, you just provide a proof here, and it takes like it starts the challenge period, and for the challenge period, anyone can come. Hey, you already spent those coins here, or you are double spending it, or you can start exit. And let's say something happens here like fraud, etc. You can start exit immediately, and you can exit before the fraud, the guy exits basically with the spent coin. So that's how architecture works. Yeah, I mean, this is like simple EVM. Our block time here is like 2-3 seconds. It's like simple because we have like committee chosen by here, and we just create a blocks. And after some time, after 10 minutes or so, every validator just create this multiple root, multiple hash of all the blocks, and they collect the signs. Like gentleman consider simple. They vote on the checkpoint, and then it goes to here.
Cool. And on this chain, the fork choice rule is just whichever one is longest.
So here we have like we know which block will create by which producer. So if he misses, then it goes ahead.
Right. And what happens if so the first producer created the block?
Yeah, it's simple.
Second producer the block, and the third one here.
Yeah, basically, so each have like different difficulty level. It's like similar to click. So if let's say this is like 100 difficulty, and same time it will have 99 or 98, right? So after 3 blocks, if this creates a block, it will everyone will just accept higher difficulty blocks.
Okay. So between these two, whichever one has higher difficulty, like if I'm 4, I will choose this one because it's 99, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because let's say if this person is down, they can other two can start creating new blocks.
I see. And how's the difficulty?
It's like
It does like accumulate over time.
So basically, it's not accumulating. It's a simple you can authority. This is a round robin. So let's say if it's a turn of like person A, it will have 100, and then the backup guys will have let's say B and C will have 99 and 90.
Oh, I see. Oh, so it depends on how many you skip.
Yes.
So 3 in this case skipped a block, and so that's going to be a lower.
Yes.
I see. Yeah. Cool.
So click.
No.
Okay. So basically, it's let's say there are 3 people in the system. Let's say A, B, and C. If let's say we say okay, hey, first A will create a block, and then after some time, after 3 blocks, A will again become a producer. Now B and C will create a block instead of A if A is offline, but they have like lower difficulty for them, like 99, 98. So if let's say A goes down, or maybe delays a block, and then B creates, and then A again creates, so A will have like kind of 4 and goes.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I see. And let's say A did not create a block, B creates a block, right? So let's click here. So A skips. So this is the timeline, right? So A skips. This is A, B, and C. B creates a block, right? C creates a block, and then A wakes up and creates a block.
Yeah.
Which one will
So
have?
basically, we have like kind of a 3 layer. I mean, it's a number. We chose like after 3 blocks, you can't just.
I see.
So like kind of
Yeah.
that's it final. You can't like go.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it will like become a huge mess.
I see. But in this case, because this is only 2 blocks,
Yeah.
if A wakes up, this is still
it
high
can happen.
difficulty.
So you just
I
wait
see.
for like 3 blocks and.
Okay.
Mostly, if you like 2-3 seconds between the blocks, I think it will work like 5 or 6 seconds. You have like instant like kind of.
Yeah. Or like more like 9 seconds because you wait for 2 blocks.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Okay. So my question is, let's go into the details of how tokens move from the Ethereum chain to the sidechain. So let's say I'm locking 10 DAI, like I send them to the smart contract. They and let's say that validators never actually acknowledge them somehow. What is my procedure to reclaim?
So if you deposit here and they don't go here, you can start exit from here. Let's say this is like a withdraw exit proof. The different contract, of course, they're actually connected with like one registry. You would say, because EVM doesn't allow like huge contracts. Ethereum. So we have like multiple contracts, and one of them is withdraw proof. Right? You withdraw exit. So let's say if no one actually puts money here, you can start exit with your tokens here. And since you never actually make a transaction here, no one can challenge your transaction here, and you can just start exit.
Right. But how? So let's say So when I deposit, actually the first question to ask is, do I use the same accounts on your chain as I use on Ethereum?
Yes. We have like different chain IDs. So your signature will be like you can actually verify each transaction here.
With the same signature that I use on Ethereum?
Yes.
I see. So if I deposit on Ethereum, then the same account ID on Matic.
Same account, you will have same 10 DAIs in your account, but different chain, right? And now chain ID is different, of course. Let's say it's 1, and use something like 99. And with chain ID, you use transaction and broadcast here.
Okay. And so what happens? Let's say I deposit 10 DAI. Right. Let's say they actually did appear here, right? So someone did put 10 DAI on the sidechain. But I didn't transact with them.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then I exit. Okay.
Yes, you can exit. Otherwise, I mean, so basically, once you make a transaction here, you can't exit with your this 10 DAI because you already made already transferred to someone else. But you can exit when then let's say I transfer like 9 DAIs to you. Then I can transfer, I can exit with 9 DAI, and then no one can challenge this because this one was before, after the deposit one.
I see. Cool. And so when I snapshot the Merkle root, right? So this Merkle root, every block header has some sort of Merkle root of the account to itself, right? And so, like if I have an account, I can have like a Merkle proof up to the Merkle.
So basically, this checkpoint is not the Merkle root of the accounts. It's a Merkle root of the hash, block hashes.
But block hashes have the. I see.
So basically, block hash is like, let's say in Ethereum, it has receipt roots, DX root, right? And we have like both these things and timestamp and the block number. Everything goes here at the checkpoint. So you can actually validate your receipt also here. You can validate all your transaction also using this checkpoint.
I see. So it's like effectively I will say, okay, this is my account ID, this is Merkle proof all the way up to the transaction root, for example. And then I will provide the hash of the block with the transaction root and then a Merkle proof.
Yes, so yeah, exactly, right? The problem with this thing is that you have like larger group size. Like huge amount of size.
Twice as big or how big is it?
It's so basically you just have to check this receipt root, not the transaction root in some cases. It depends upon the different cases. So for transaction, let's say if you want to check that if I have my 10 DAIs in one receipt or not, if it's a receipt log, you can actually have like a simple receipt Merkle Patricia proof on the Ethereum. And the second proof will be your block inclusion of the checkpoint. So let's say if you have 4 blocks between the checkpoint, you also need to prove that your block was in this checkpoint.
Right. And so if I'm sending, so let's say I have 10 DAI, I'm sending them to someone. Let's say you're sending me 10 DAI. Until there's a checkpoint to the Ethereum chain, I cannot challenge, right? Because I cannot provide a proof.
Yeah, so you can actually do that using the implied proofs, but it has a limitation of only one transaction. So maybe you need to wait for like some for let's say if you want to make a 10 DAIs transaction, right? And let's say if you want to make another transaction, you just wait for either signature of the block producers himself or the checkpoint.
Right. But so in a situation where all the block producers are malicious,
Yeah.
They-
So then, yeah. So so basically, if let's say all the block producers are malicious, in case let's say if they don't send the checkpoint at all, you can't do much about it, and you just have to exit with
Right.
your 10 dice
Mhm.
with the in-flight.
Yeah.
So he will explain more about in-flight exit, and then you can actually exit with your 10 dice here.
but to understand the guarantee is, if there was a checkpoint, then even if all the block producers are malicious, I can exit.
Yes.
If there is no checkpoint, I
You
can
can
exit unless all the block producers are malicious, or like unless a large percentage of them is malicious.
So even if you can exit in both the cases,
Mhm.
right? Even if the whole validators are malicious or not, you can exit. But the limitation is that you only exit with the kind of on the economical security, not the plasma security. So let's say you have two checkpoints here,
Mhm.
right? Here and here. Now you make like let's say 10 die transfer here,
Mhm.
right? If the stake of this block producer is higher than your 10 die, you can exit because you have signature of this producer. Block
Yeah.
producer. So when you exit, you can have provide okay, hey, you already signed my transactions in this receipt.
Right, but then because block producers are malicious, they can create another block, right?
Yeah,
Most
but
of the time.
so basically, when you exit in flight,
Mhm.
you actually provide the link to your previous transaction.
Mhm.
So it will be the priority of this transaction, not this transaction. So if the block producer is malicious here, you
Yeah.
always exit before it.
Oh, but what I'm saying is that I'm the receiver, I'm not the sender of the transaction.
Yeah,
Right, so the sender is
yeah,
also
you can
malicious.
also do as a receiver end, you also exit with your
Right, but imagine this situation that there is, so you're a sender, you're a malicious actor, and all the validators are colluding with you, or like 67% are colluding with you. So this is the checkpoint.
Mhm.
After the checkpoint, you send me 10 die,
Mhm.
but you also send 10 die to Arpid, right
Mhm.
here. And then block producers being malicious, they send both of them,
Mhm.
right? And so I'm trying to exit,
Yeah,
and
but,
Arpid is trying to exit, and
so when you here when the block producer is trying to exit,
Mhm.
they will have a different priority than you.
But like how these two blocks are distinguishable on Ethereum side, because they have the same pairing.
The blocks are same,
Mhm.
but the priority will be different because you are actually referencing the different block previously created, which was gold. This is like as a fraudulent one, a block,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So when you exit here
Mhm.
in flight mode, you can actually reference to your previous one and exit with that priority.
But
Because
what,
this
what,
account,
what, what is my previous one? Like I never participated.
so let's say you are sending me a 10 die,
Yeah.
so you will be my previous one. So I just
Right.
reference to your account
Yeah.
and say, okay, hey, you had 100 die, you sent me 10 die, so
Yeah.
I'm a legit one because your account was legit before this block,
Mhm.
and you will be your priority will assign to me my exit.
Yeah.
In the-
But in the reverse situation where you sending me, so you're sending me 100 die, right?
Yeah.
So let's draw it from here, right? So this is this is the Ethereum block, right? On the Ethereum chain where you and your malicious actor,
Mhm.
you send me 10, you deposit 100 die, right? So as of this block on the Plasma chain, you have 100 die.
Mhm.
And let's say the last snapshot was a long time ago. So this is the last snapshot, right? And so then a couple of blocks pass. And then the first transaction you make is you send 10 die to me, right? So in this block you send 10 die goes to me. And at,
How about the frame? That is
it's out of the frame?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you want to add something here?
Yeah, sure, I can explain.
Okay. So I can. Okay, still recording. Yeah. And generally, feel free to interrupt the flow.
Okay.
Like it's all being edited later, so they're gonna remove everything. Cool. You want to jump in?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so can I erase this part or?
Sure. Yeah.
First, you just point out your transaction flow, and then we can.
Yeah. I will explain it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so your question.
Okay, right. So we start with an Ethereum block, right? On the Ethereum block, JD, who is a malicious actor, deposits 100 DAI. Right. So this is the first block where the 100 DAI appears, on the plasma chain.
So are these real or malicious?
So up until this moment, it doesn't really matter. So up until here, so this is the last checkpoint. Everything was going well up until here.
Yeah.
And so this is the first time where people start, doing weird stuff. So the first thing JD does is he creates a transaction, which sends to Alex 10 day.
Yes.
Right? And the validator signed it. Right, like whomever creates this block, like the block is fully valid. And I look at this block, I see this block exists, and maybe a couple more blocks were built, right? So there's like 2 more blocks, or maybe 4 more blocks.
Yes.
But checkpoint is nowhere close. So checkpoint is going to be,
on the future,
right? So I see this, I'm like, okay, my tokens are mine. There's a long chain here, and I give JD his latte that he's paying for.
Yes.
Right. Then after that, he goes to the validators, and they create a new block. Right, where he says the same 10 die go to, and let's say it was 100 die, so he was depleting his account. Right, so now they go to you, to our pit, and we send you 100 die, and then they build the same chain here, and the chains are indistinguishable, so there's no blocks skipped, all the signatures are correct, right, and then they continue building this one, right, and so I just, sustained a huge loss of 100 die.
Yeah, so we go with this assumption that, not just an assumption, we have designed it in such a way that we assume that there shouldn't be any forks here, and if there were forks, like validators colluded or they were, so what you do is you prove on the root chain. So we have modified Geth a little bit, which means whoever is producing this block, they sign this block as well, right? So what happens is, if at the same height, 2 blocks had signatures from
Same.
validators.
Same validator, basically.
Yeah, so you can go to the root chain and prove that, and then that behavior will be slashed.
Right, but will that slashed money be used to compensate people who lost money?
Yeah, something like that. So mechanics of that we are still thinking about that. But that slashing amount is, we'll somehow use that to actually people who are affected.
Yeah. I see. And
mostly you actually wait for after deposit for next checkpoint, because you can actually transfer like 1 or 2 in the economical security between the checkpoints, but for deposit you might want to wait for like next checkpoint, and then you can start transferring your tokens, right?
I see.
So you can actually exceed with your reference in flight even if something goes wrong.
Yeah. Another question.
Yeah, so basically the idea here is, if you're just selling coffee, you can wait for a block.
Yeah.
But if you're selling a Lamborghini, you might as well wait for the checkpoint.
So let's say 2 scenarios, right? This blockchain is going to be the same, but the timeline is going to be different. So in one scenario, there's a block here where, and again, malicious JD sends to me 100 tokens, 100 DAI.
Yes.
And then 3 blocks are skipped, and then the chain continues. And there's a second chain in which those 3 blocks do exist. Okay. But then the remaining blocks don't exist, right? Okay. And so in this block, he sends money to yourself, the same 100 DAI, right? Now imagine 2 different scenarios, right? One scenario is that almost up until the checkpoint, this is the only chain that exists. Okay. Nobody can see this chain.
Yeah.
Right? And so for all I know, I have my 100 DAI.
Yes.
Right? Because this is the only chain that exists. And like, let's say this is 9 minutes out of 10.
Yes.
Right? And then right before the checkpoint, the validators create this chain.
Yes.
And snapshot it. And the second scenario is the other way around, right? So whichever one is preferred, one of them is clearly preferred by the fork rule, right? I don't know which one.
Yes.
Right? So in this case, I will lose my money, right?
Yeah. So
and nobody gets slashed.
no, the answer. So answer is same. So these 2 blocks are at the same level, right?
No, those are. This is skipped.
And the height will be the same, right?
So this is heights. So this is height 5, 6, 7, 8,
Okay.
9, 10, 11.
It's
So
not like
this is heights.
skipped block. You either like create none or like it's a time. The height will be the same.
Oh, I see. So if you so let's say we're creating in a loop, right? So you then repeat than me. So if let's say you were height 1, then repeat skips a height.
Yeah.
And then I will create 2.
2, yes.
I see. Okay, but then that's still let's say this
It's not
one
like
this.
it's
Three of
not
us.
like the skipped block.
Yeah, there's no skips. Okay.
Yes.
But I think yeah, I can still do that. So let's say three of us create blocks,
Yeah.
right? And so on this chain, it's just me. Well, it's bad idea because I'm actually being scammed here. So let's say someone's like, let's say it's Vitalik, right? So Vitalik produces this block. Then Vitalik produces this block. Vitalik and like you guys don't produce anything, right? And then right before the checkpoint, the two of you wake up and you start creating these blocks, right? So this is JD, this is Arpit, this is JD. This let's say this is check. Right. So in this scenario, nobody gets slashed because nobody double signed, right? But your chain will have a higher priority at the end of the day, and so you can snapshot your chain and double spend, right?
So basically, this is like this is 6 block, or this is the
Right. So the heights will be so like let's say this is height 1, 2, this is 3, then this is 4, 5, 6, right? And this is the same. This is 3. Let's erase this one. This is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? And so like in Vitalik's case, after this block, he skips yourself, skips Arpit, creates his block, skips you, skips Arpit, creates his block, and because you guys were just offline, you know, like. While in your case, you create 2 blocks, skip Vitalik, create 2 blocks, skip Vitalik, right? Right. But this chain existed for the 9 minutes. This one was not known.
It can exit like multiple people can actually create a block however they want. But as a user, I will see, okay, hey, this is the real priority, the difficulty with higher difficulty block producer. So I will consider this as this might
Right.
yeah.
But the timeline is the following, right? So I'm an honest user. I see this block. I see this block. This is like the first 5 seconds of the epoch, and then the epoch starts. And for the 10 minutes of the epoch, this does not exist, right? So this is how the epoch looks to me right before the checkpoint as a user, right? And then at that moment, almost when the checkpoint is about to happen, you and Arpit, you reveal this chain, like you just dump all those blocks to everybody.
Yeah. So basically, in that case, mostly what happens is like if user detects like multiple block producers are creating multiple blocks different level, same height. They might want to exit and not trust to anybody in the system. They actually, it might happen in some cases. Let's say where Vital, this guy is like fraudulent and this guy is honest, right? So in that case, let's say if they make a transaction here, in that case, let's say if this chain doesn't go on the checkpoint, they can actually have like in-flight transactions pointing out the previous one and exit with their 100 dice. In that case.
But in this case, what happens, if I understand it right, is that so Arpit sends me. So you send me 100 die in this block. This is the only block I see right now, right?
So basically, if I'm sending like 2 transactions at the same and at a point of time, let's say the same runs, I'm actually making a double spend in any case, even if it's included in the transaction or not.
But you cannot be slashed because you're not a.
Yes. So basically, in that case, most of the people will just start exiting before you because people are actually double spending it, and the producers are including the both transaction in the checkpoint in the blockchain. So it's like fraudulent activity. So you can actually might want to exit.
Right, but specifically for this 100 die, right? So this 100 die.
So
let's say this is only money that exists. This is something you deposited, right?
Yeah, and I'm signing 2 transactions.
Yes.
So basically, let's say when I make 2 transactions, either this chain will win, right? So now let's say if you are making a transaction, let's say I send you signature signed transactions to you, and now you have like a block producer signature. The other guy may not want to accept the.
Oh, but Arpit is cooperating with you. He's
Yeah,
your friend, right?
So Arpit also knows. Okay, hey. He already won transactions, and JD has like signature of this block producer, so I might not accept this.
Right, but imagine that the next block. So the figure is not very good here for what I want to say, but imagine
so
that
basically you are saying let's say if Arpit and I both have Arpit doesn't know if I have a signature of a block producer and you.
So let's say that the next block, the block at height 3, is supposed to be produced by you. Right, so you have the 100 priority, right? And so you create here a block which sends 100 DAI to repeat. But this block you don't show it to anyone. This block exists on your machine, but nowhere else.
Okay.
And then because that block nobody sees it, our hypothetical Vitalik who is validating here, he skips you. He creates his own block where he sees transaction which you also signed and publicly show to everyone, where you send the same 100 DAI to me. Right. So here it says to Alex, 100 DAI. So after that, just Vitalik continues building the chain, and two of you do not reveal any blocks.
Okay.
So me, as an honest user of the system, I can see here's the transaction where you send me 100 DAI, right? And I don't see any other transactions. I don't see any other blocks.
Yeah.
And it's been 10 minutes by now,
Yeah.
almost 10 minutes. So I'm like, okay, it's got to be reliable. And then right before the checkpoint, you reveal this block, which has a higher priority or higher difficulty, right? And repeat immediately exits from this block.
Okay.
In flight, right?
Yeah, but
I cannot challenge him because my difficulty is lower.
No, you can challenge because so basically how it works is like if you sign as same transaction to different people with same ones, they can actually challenge the exit, and the later one will the order one will win, right? Most of the cases. So let's say if I'm making two transactions in this and sign the two transactions to same people, one of them has to.
Yeah, so basically there is no concept of exiting immediately. So there is a 7-day challenge period, right?
Right, but between you and I, why would Ethereum chain during the exit choose me if your block difficulty is high?
No, because this was checkpointed. It depends on what was checkpointed.
There was no checkpoint did not happen yet.
Oh, there is no checkpoint.
There's no checkpoint, that's in flight.
So during the exits, so there's a concept of referencing the transaction.
It's an in-flight transaction. So if there is no checkpoint, it's called in-flight transaction.
Right.
Basically.
But you see, in the entire system, we only have two transactions which happen here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can only reference the deposit itself, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I reference the deposit, and you reference the deposit. How does the system choose who of us is supposed to get the 100 DAI?
Yeah, so both of your exits will be queued. Okay. And like whoever starts an exit first will get the money.
Right. And so in this case, if you started the exit first,
Yes.
because I was not suspecting anything bad. I wanted to keep my DAI on the plasma chain, right? So and your malicious actor, you immediately exit.
Yeah.
So I lose my 100 DAI. So if the sender and the committee cooperate, I can lose my money in flight.
Only in flight mode.
Yeah.
So you might want to wait for the
Right,
checkpoint
okay.
in the cases.
Yeah, so the assumption here is there's 66% collusion with the validators,
Yeah.
and there were votes, and there was no checkpoints.
Yeah. So
Okay,
basically,
yeah.
between the checkpoint, if you are making most of the transactions, you may want to wait
Yeah.
for the checkpoint.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
That's what I wanted to understand. Okay. So
Yeah.
between the checkpoints, if the validators collude, I can in principle lose my money. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Great. So now let's talk about the exit team.
Yeah.
Right. So my understanding is that when we snapshot, the snapshot on Ethereum effectively can prove that any like certain accounts have certain amount of money. Right?
Yes.
So now how do I? So let's talk about the exit. So what is the protocol for exits?
Okay.
What do I send? What data goes? Where?
Yeah.
What sort of challenges exist?
Okay, sure. So there are 3 types of exits. Okay. So one is when you start exit with deposited tokens, which was the case that you guys already discussed. So let's say I deposited some amount in the plasma contract, but that was not minted on the sidechain.
Yeah.
So that is one type of exit. So start exit with deposited tokens.
Mm-hmm.
So another one is start exit with burned tokens.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens here is this is the case where a Matic chain is all good, right? And let's say you want to withdraw your DAI, you send a burn transaction.
Mm-hmm.
Burn is simply a function in our ERC20s.
Mm-hmm.
So you say I want to burn 50 DAI,
Mm-hmm.
and then when that happens, when that transaction is included, you give a proof of that transaction on the main chain.
Yeah.
To this function,
Mm-hmm.
the burn tokens.
Yeah.
And how that works is, so on Matic chain, these are the blocks,
Mm-hmm.
and our Merkle proof consists of like block headers of these. This, okay, so on. And then each block header, like Ethereum, it has a transaction hash, transaction root, and then a receipt root, and a couple more things like timestamp and all. So then when you want to say that my burn transaction was included, you provide the receipt and give a mobile proof of the fact that that receipt is a part of this. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you prove that receipt lies in a block header. That was checkpointed.
Yep.
So this is a checkpoint. So yeah, this is how you provide a proof of anything, right? So this is the burn case. And then the third one is more VP style exits. So that is when people have started to mass exit, and the case could be when there is 66% collusion. That is the only case that you would use. So we let's call this start exit in-flight or things like that. So this one you provide a proof of burn. This one you provide a proof of reference transaction, and optionally an in-flight exit as well, in-flight transaction as well.
Yep. So let's postpone in-flight transactions for simplicity, right?
Yeah.
So let's say we always have a checkpoint, and we only exit something that was checkpointed.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So when I provide the proof of burn transaction, I only provide the proof of inclusion. I don't provide the proof of the reference of the previous transaction.
Yeah. You don't.
Reference is only for the last, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's start with some examples. So let's say there is a collusion, right? So there's a collusion, and there's a transaction from, again, we're always going to use JD as the malicious actor. Okay. So JD has the same 100 die. He sends 100 die to me. Right. So in this block, there's a transaction to Alex. 100 die.
Yes.
And so as of after this block, the state root will contain, there's no state root, I guess, but as of after this block, the state is that he has 0 tokens, I have 100, you have 0.
Yeah.
In the next block, he creates a transaction which burns 100 die. It doesn't happen, but he still creates a transaction, like burn.
Let's say the block producer just included it.
And the block producer included it, and then it gets checkpointed. So 67% colluded in Tendermint. They said, that's a great checkpoint. Let's checkpoint it on Ethereum. And then JD creates an exit with a burn proof, and he says, well, this block has my burn, right? So how do I challenge?
Sure. So the thing is, users look for the first invalid state transition in the chain. The first point where the chain went bad.
Yeah.
Okay. So in our case, this was the time when the chain started going bad, right? Because he didn't have wanted die, but he still was able to burn it, right? So what happens is, let's say you are at a point where this is a malicious transaction or an invalid state transition. State transition, right? So the idea is, as soon as you see this, you will start exiting with transactions before it, right? So then you would invoke something like this, where you say that now the problem here is, so I'll talk about priority queue, right? So when you exit with a transaction, you give a sense of where that transaction was in the sidechain, and then that is the assigned priority according to how the exits will process. So the lower the priority, before it will happen. Okay, so it's like a min priority queue. Could be here, could be here, could be here. And because your priority would be lower.
So I will only acknowledge your transaction. So let's say you're sending me a lot of money, like, million die. Right. So I will only respect the transaction if it is checkpointed and I have access to the block where it is included, right? So that I can later use that block.
So depends on what kind of finality you want. If it's a million die, so if it's, let's say, 10 die, you are good when you see it in a block.
Yeah, because it's unlikely that people will do this thing we're discussing.
The full thing, because they could got slash.
And also we have like stakes, so you can actually, if the amount is small, you can always withdraw stake. If something was bad.
Yeah, we're still designing that mechanism. So slashing funds could be somehow used to, actually reimburse users who were affected. Probably. Yeah, but if you made a million die transaction, you might as well wait for the checkpoint. Yeah, but you do have some sense of finality when you see it in a block.
Yes. And I need to see a checkpoint, and I also need to see all the blocks, right? Because if I want to challenge, I need to be able to provide the proof.
Yes.
Okay. So a couple more questions, right?
Yes.
One of them is, if I exit, so let's say I want to use the last type of exit, right? So I provide a block, right? And with the block, I also provide a reference to the previous transaction, right? To like the input transaction.
Yes. Which, by the way, could be more than one.
More than one, yeah. So all the transactions, like some set of transactions which send money to my account,
Exactly.
which accumulates to the amount that I'm trying to exit.
Yes.
Right.
Not exactly that. So think of it like what changed your balance.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be JD's balance
Mm-hmm.
because he spent it,
Mm-hmm.
and Alex's balance. So let's say JD had 5 tokens, and you had 3 tokens,
Mm-hmm.
and then you want to say that JD sent me 2 tokens.
Mm-hmm.
So JD sent me 3 tokens.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to exit with 6 tokens. So basically, then these 2 are your inputs.
Yeah.
Whatever led to your or the spender's balance being changed.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the inputs.
Yeah.
So then we consider these UTXOs to be spent,
Mm-hmm.
like account balances, but we visualize them like UTXOs.
Mm-hmm.
And then new UTXOs were created, where JD's balance was 2 and yours was 6.
Mm-hmm. So now let's say that I receive the 6 tokens, right? And then I send them to someone else.
Yes.
And now I'm trying to exit 6 tokens. But the challenge will be something that references my spend transaction, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you'll be challenged with your spend transaction because
Mhm.
you spent those 6 tokens.
Yeah.
And if you're still trying to exit with those 6,
Mm-hmm.
someone will say that, so your signature was here and you made a spend.
Right. Yeah. Can I partially exit? So let's say I have 6, can I exit 3?
Not with this style of exit.
Okay, but with a burn.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the idea is if you're doing the more VP style exit, it is only for mass exits.
Yeah.
So exit with everything that you have
Mm-hmm.
and don't leave anything behind and don't make any more spends.
Mm-hmm.
So when you use this, no partial exits. Your
I see.
entire thing.
Basically, those are for worst cases. Yeah.
Mhm.
So everything like if you think like everyone is colluding on the side chain and
Mhm.
to exit, like this
Right.
kind of code. Yeah.
Right. And so mass exits, right? To exit the transaction, I need to send something which contains 2 Merkle proofs, right?
Yes.
Which is on the order of like, let's say it's like, how deep are the Merkle proofs? It's like on the order of 40 hashes,
16.
16 hashes. 16 hashes each or 16 hashes total?
So basically, currently we have 16. So it allows like Ethereum actually allows those
Yeah.
data right now.
Mhm.
But in the future it may increase.
Mhm.
Maybe Ethereum just increase the gas limit.
Yeah.
But we don't like we currently have less than 16. I guess I need to check. But
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that means that every block can have like up to 60,000 transactions, and the epoch can have like up to 60,000 blocks. Yeah. Okay. So I'm sending, like you see, you produce blocks every 3 seconds, right? And let's say it's all been going well for like a year. For a year, nobody was being malicious,
Yes.
and you have like you accumulated a lot of balances on the chain, and then I come and I say I'm burning 100 tokens.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
And now everybody starts exiting. So how, like, is there some mechanism which will be increasing the challenge period over time so that everybody can exit?
So we are actually thinking over it. We don't have like answers for now.
Mhm.
What we're thinking, if let's say the balance increases and at some point of time, let's say 50% of the deposit are exiting
Mhm.
in very short time,
Mhm.
increase challenge period
Yeah.
of everything a little bit higher, so
Yeah.
people can have like extra time to exit
Mm-hmm.
and challenge.
Yeah.
It's like basically this is just the one thought we are thinking on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure what will be the best solution for it.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
It's a little bit complicated because other plasma basically uses like only one block per checkpoint,
Mm-hmm.
and we use like multiple blocks. So
Mhm.
there are some trade-off we make, like
Mhm.
economical security between the checkpoints. But most of the time it will work if you have like small amount of money and you always score the reference the big checkpoint wala transactions.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are like making a huge transaction, just wait for checkpoint.
Basically, we are optimizing for the best case scenario, which is nothing goes wrong, and we are taking those trade-offs, which let's say require you to use more gas in case of the worst exits. So like better UX for cases when things are okay, and a little bit worse UX when things are not okay, but which is okay because that might happen just once. So that's why like normal one exits, you just give us single receipt, right? So that is not gas heavy. But with the start exit, which is like the referencing thing and all that, this is a little gas heavy, but that's okay because this is the worst case. So we are making those trade-offs.
So when I send the transaction to someone, right? So let's say I received money, I received 100 DAI long ago.
Yes.
Right, like a year ago.
Yes.
And for 1 year, there was no malicious behavior on the chain.
Okay.
1 year later, I want to send this 100 DAI to you. Is the expectation that you validated the entire chain up until this moment? Or how do I prove to you that I actually have 100 DAI? Like if I give you a transaction, right? How do you know? So consider two different cases, right? One case is I actually do have 100 DAI, which I received 1 year ago.
Yes.
I send this transaction, it gets included in the block,
Yes.
and you see it and you acknowledge it. As a user, you're not validating the chain, right?
Yes.
Second example, I do not have 100 DAI.
Okay.
I send it to you, it gets included in the block because validators are malicious, but you have no idea without validating the whole chain.
Yes.
So what is the expectation that you validated the whole chain?
Yeah, the assumption right now there is that the users will validate the chain, which and I'm not a big fan of that. Because as we move forward, we need to think about that. But also there are ways to circumvent it. So let's say they are properly incentivized watchstars who will be validating the chain. And when something goes bad, they'll probably be notifying users. Or we are also thinking about delegated exits, where you could trust someone to exit on your behalf. And it could be like a subscription thing or things like that. So some ideas around that. But yeah, that is the limitation.
Yeah, okay, so I guess like for small amount, I will just trust that nobody does anything.
Or maybe just optimistically check, okay, after like 1 year, like there is nothing went wrong and very few are exiting, the chain might be like in good state.
Yeah.
But
In my particular example, the chain was in a good shape up until now.
Yeah,
I'm just receiving a transaction. Like I don't know if the transaction is valid or not.
Yeah.
Which was included, right?
Or maybe you just start like last 7 days transactions if you want, because let's say if something goes wrong in last 7 days, you might want to exit. So you just validate the last 7 days transaction. Otherwise, you just use like simple light client for before the 7 days and then check last 7 days transaction and you're good to go in most cases.
Yeah,
correct. But those are the parts that need to be thought about properly.
Yeah.
And so let me also understand all the challenges. So this transaction, it cannot be challenged.
This can be challenged as well.
But the challenge here will be
cannot
just for the exit with an earlier priority, right?
So this cannot be challenged, but the exit period is still 7 days.
Yeah. So if I submit this and I'm a malicious actor, I'm not going to be challenged per se. Someone will just exit with the
People will
higher
exit before
priority
exactly.
or lower priority.
You have confusion.
This transaction, so I want to understand all the challenges for this transaction, right? I'm providing, my proof consists of a transaction, it's not a single transaction. I'm providing multiple transactions where different people send me money, right? So I'm saying, okay, like at some point, you sent me money, like six DAI. At some point, JD sent me money, like seven DAI. And then I can include the proof of all of those and say I have 13 DAI.
You don't need to include all of those. You simply say that I want to exit with 13 DAI.
For this particular challenge. I'm just saying I want to exit for 13 DAI.
Yeah, 13 DAI, you just give the last transaction, which would be this, not the entire.
It's not all of them.
Yeah.
Okay, so I provide, but how?
So,
I see, because the lower priority, no, that doesn't work very well, right? Because imagine the following situation where JD sends me, so let's say JD has 100 DAI.
yes.
He sends you 50 DAI here.
Okay.
50 DAI. And in the next block, or like in this block, he sends me 50 DAI.
Is it the same 50 DAI or?
He has 100 total, right? Because it's account based, it's
Yes.
they fungible, right? Okay. And then he exits. He provides the last transaction you're saying, right? So he provides this transaction, and he exits for 100 DAI.
So he cannot provide this one, right? He will have to provide something older because here he spent 50.
Oh, sorry, you exit.
Okay.
Yeah, you exit with this transaction, but you say I want to exit 100 DAI, and I exit with this transaction, and I say I want to exit 50 DAI.
So I can only exit 50, right? Because I got 50.
But in this case, if I want to exit 13, is it two different exits?
No. So how it would work is after this transaction, your balance would be 6.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Okay, I'll send to Alex.
But there is no, like, my understanding is that the block doesn't have a state root, right? So Ethereum cannot validate the balance of a particular participant.
So what we do is in every transfer, we have a particular event. We call it lock transfer. Okay. And what it does is it emits your previous balance before the transaction.
And the new balance, I see.
Sender is recipient, and then sender dash and recipient dash.
But it's like old balance is new balance.
Yes.
I see.
So think of it like a UTXO, right? So here my balance would be like, so you're Alex, the recipient. So your balance here becomes 6. Okay. And then when this transaction is made, another event, so it says sender whatever, and then you were 6, and then sender whatever, and then you were 13.
I see. And so I provide the last transaction, 13, and because everybody validated everybody who cared sufficiently about large transfers validated all the blocks.
Yes.
They effectively validated that this is also correct.
Correct.
Yeah. I see.
So when you want to start exiting, you either reference a transaction older than this, or let's say you burn this and then you say I want to exit this.
Yep. And I see. And so the way we can challenge this transaction. So let's say I'm exiting. I'm saying I have 13. So we make an assumption that all the blocks are valid, right? The blocks are invalid, and then people should not have acknowledged their money to begin with, right? But let's say all the blocks are completely valid, but I'm trying to exit. The only challenge would be to find another transaction from me that spends any of those 13, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Which came after this.
Which came after this? Yes. In a later block.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, because it's equivalent to double spending, exiting on the main chain and spending it on the side chain.
Yep.
So then you come in and prove that you made the spend, which has a higher priority than your exit.
Thank you guys for coming. Any last announcements you want to make about Matic?
No, I mean, we are actually launching our game of stake kind of solution. Like people just take on testnet and play with become a validator and play with the whole architecture. So we now launch it soon. So yeah, that's it.
Cool. Okay. Thanks for coming again.